It's Judgment Day. AI coding tools face off. Yeah. Very good, very good, very good. It's a last session of the conference. Couple of things to know about it. First, we will try to keep you alive until the end. Second, it's a 3-hour session. So you might be here for a while. Yeah. Okay. What are we going to do? We're going to compare AI tools for coding. We have 2 contenders because it's a shorter session, only 3 hours. So
rumor has it that there is a version of this talk for almost 3.5 hours.
Like the real one?
Yes.
Really 3 hours?
No, it's not a joke. It's seriously. Like if you go to the website that will be mentioned here,
yes,
you will find the 3-hour version.
Yeah, so basically DevOps last week in Belgium, we did the deep dive for 3 hours and we had 6 talks, 6 tools instead of 2. But this will be like a shorter version. And I think we will show you the tools that we currently the most excited about, with the models that we're most excited about, working with a methodology that we are most excited about.
Yes.
So out of the 6 that we show in DevOps, those were the winners and you got those. Kiro is an IDE for AI-driven development, and Juni is a plugin for JetBrains IDEs for the same purpose. We are going to use only the best coding model out there, which is Sonnet 4.5 from Claude from Anthropic, just because they are way ahead, or like a head and shoulders better than anything else on the market.
Yeah, so basically we're saving you a little bit of time because we tried all these models, again, 3 hours talk, and just save yourself time. Like
just use this.
Just use this.
For now, just use this. And we're going to show you 2 different methodologies, prompt-driven development and what Kiro called spec-driven development, with some additions to make it more like intent integrity chain that we're going to mention in a second. You get the best of the best. Couple of words about us. Baruch Sadogursky right here, head of developer relations in a company called TaxCare. We do security patches for end-of-life open source components. So if you only do AI hype for the fun, but you have a real job working on the real software that is actually deployed in production, you probably are not on the latest versions of every software possible. Talk to TaxCare to learn more about what we do. We are in the expo and doing pretty cool things. Jay Baruch at The Wild wrote a couple of books, DevOps tools for Java developers and Liquid Software. This is Victor Gamov. I got you. You work. Victor
everything
Gamov.
works.
Everything works? You have Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Connected?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah.
Change the light. Change the light.
I'm working on this.
Okay, so keep working. Principal developer advocate at Confluent, huge advocate of Kafka and Flink. If you have a real job and you work with a lot of data, you'll probably work with Kafka. Talk to Victor about that. At Gamusa on the internet, also author about books on Kafka and weird stuff like JavaScript. I don't know why, but whatever. The mistakes of the youth.
Yes, mistakes of the youth.
Java champions, both of us, thank you very much. Okay, the most important slide of this talk is this. If you go to shownotes.taxcare.com or AI-assisted engineering, you will find the slides already there. The video is being recorded right now. And all the links, including the link to the 3-hour full DevOps thingy, all there. Also a raffle to thank you for being here. Very nice retro keyboard. QR code, boom! You don't need to type anything. And we're gonna put it on the bottom of every slide in case you forget, and then you remember, and then you can go there and it's all there. Very cool. Yeah, what we're gonna do, sorry. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, next slide. All right, now everybody knew that. Okay, so what we're going to do? We're going to we're going to create an app using AI assistant engineering, also known as vibe code. And the app which reads average color from webcam and changes the color of this smart bulb. It really can change colors, and Victor is very close to actually making it happen.
You keep hyping me up, and
eventually you will, maybe.
Yes, exactly.
All right, okay. It really can change colors. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. So what we're gonna do is we're going to fire it up on both machines. Victor is going to do Junie. I'm going to do Kira. We're going to start the process, and then we're going to explain to you what we do and why. All right. Oh, now it's red, and now it's green. Amazing. And now it's blue. Fantastic. All right.
just,
Okay.
it just works.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome to Kira. You want to start with Junie?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
Yes, I'm going to start with Junie.
Just show the first prompt of the generative rules, and then we'll do that, and then we'll explain, and then we'll do everything else.
Okay. So do I need to speak a little bit about the...
No, I'm going to do it over slides once we start the process.
Again, the Junie, anyone using JetBrains and Junie, AI assistant and things like that. So recently they also introduced support for different agents. You can run Claude Code, Claude Code, right inside IntelliJ. We're going to be focusing on Junie. Super love this tool for quite some time. We were using this for quite a while now, and I'm going to be using this problem-driven development methodology, a little bit tailored for Junie. Some of the things, for example, generating the guidelines for Junie, that would be specific. But only today, Anton just tweeted that Junie now officially supported the Agents MD as a guideline. Agent MD, it's kind of like a approach for standardize, or like community trying to standardize and force vendors to standardize this for their tooling. So like different tools like Cursor have Cursor rules. Kiro has
not specs.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I'll show you in a second.
Yeah. So it has its own set of guardrails,
like
rules.
And,
Junie has this idea of the guidelines and things like that. So now it's going to be used one thing. So in order to do this, we have a project description that will be same for us.
So yeah, the idea is we're going to show you the exact same prompts, and they will behave obviously differently.
Yeah, and we're going to be using different methodologies, but you can find those when you will...
we will show them on the slides.
Yep. And after that, like different tools will be tailored to use certain things, right?
Yeah, all right, okay, so So let's take a look. So this is... I'll zoom it in. Here we go. This is Kiro interface, and it has those sections of specs. We're going to talk about specs, agent hooks, and steering. So the steering is the steering docs of how agent should behave. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with generating those steering hooks. So in our project, you can see that we have a documentation, which the most important part is the demo description. So demo description goes into the details. Is it too small on the back? It's good. All right. So what you see here is the description of the project. It's basically like the goal: build web app that use webcam feed to detect dominant color and control the Shelly bulb over a local network. And then we go into hey, this is a demo. It should be live. So for example, the font should be huge, and you shouldn't really bother with deployment on Kubernetes and this kind of stuff. Technology stack: Java, Spring Boot, build tool, front end, vanilla JavaScript, color detection, styling, and non-functional requirements, zero configuration, large buttons, very important. And the most important is what not to do. It's a huge list, including stuff like Redis caching, MTTQ protocol, Docker deployment, Kelvin temperature calculations. Don't do. The reason why we ask
not to do this because it did it in the past iteration while we're preparing it. So that's why we have to say, stop. Yeah, just stop. We don't we're doing this home automation stuff. We don't need Redis cluster. We're not running this production line, and we don't need to MQTT and stuff like that.
No red limit. Seriously, not going to collapse on DDoS attack.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how it came about. But joke aside, this is a good example of the things what you want. So we're going to be talking about a lot about intent, like what you want the system to do for you. So explaining this intent and being like a very thorough on the on the details on different requirements is very important for kind of like the main theme of this presentation.
Right. Okay. So as I said, absolutely the same prompt. And the first is to generate rules. For in our case, it's called steering documents. And this is basically the prompt. Now, on the prompt side here in Kiro, you will see two options. First is vibe. The second is spec. So the spec is writing the application with this methodology that we are going to talk in a second. Vibe is exactly what it is. It's like generate something based on the input. For the rule generation, we're going to vibe.
With just a quick stop. In terms of vibing versus spec, so vibing usually, if you look at this in the purest form, you accepting everything. You just like living by what's called YOLO mode, meaning that accept everything what the LLM says and we'll figure out after. With the spec, we will expect there would be human intervention in order to advance for the next stage. And the Baruch will explain why it is. It's in a few seconds.
Yep. So another interesting thing to note here is the hashtag. So you saw me using it and then there is a completion popped up. So basically the hashtag is the ability to interact with everything. So you can see here the options which are interact with files, interact with the entire code base. Basically means build the context of the entire code base and I will ask you questions about it and we will discuss. Interact with the spec that we're going to see in a second how that works. Interact with code, with docs, with repository, with URLs, with current file, with steering documents, with everything. So basically, if you want anything more interesting than just plain text, hashtag is your entry point to everything else. So I pointed it to the prompt description documents. Mandatory highlight. Always use context 7 MCP. We're going to talk about context 7 MCP in a second, why it is so important. And then optional, generate a single agent MD file that Victor mentioned. That's our standard for rules.
Yeah.
And if the IDE supports it, we want it.
Yep.
So I'm going to run it right now. And Victor is doing exactly the same in Junie.
Yes. So for me, there's a couple of things. For now, I'm still sticking to my old script. So I'm using this Junie specific the folder for this. And I'm also specifying that use agent MD. One of the difference between what the Baruch showed you right now is that I don't need to use any hashtags. The Junie is smart enough to find those files in this particular case.
I didn't have to as well, but then it would burn more tokens in the LLM to actually to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in this particular case, I'm inserting here a couple things here. I'm enabling code mode and I'm enabling this. It used to be called think more.
That was brilliant. Yeah.
Yes. So right now, I think they just a little bit optimized in terms of put the light bulb, which is also kind of cute because
no, think more. I like it.
Yeah.
It's like you think your model smart, think smarter.
Well, yeah, think smarter.
Yeah.
Be better.
Yeah. All right. Methodologies. Let's talk about them. So prompt-driven development. Prompt-driven development.
I can talk about this as well.
Go for it.
You have a whole spiel about the thing that you do with the intent.
But this is also mine.
Kind of, sort of. Like we.
Okay, go for
it. We share the.
It's mine.
The know-how with a few people.
Yeah.
A lot of people were influenced. So essentially, in this mode, you as a developer acting as a product manager, and the product manager writes a lot of text. Usually, they start with what we call the product design document that has an outline of the things. Based on this outline, we want to go into some sort of user stories in order to get something understanding, like what's the system going to be doing. Based on the user story, we're defining a kind of like a plan of the operation and breaking down this into tasks, something that will be executable. And some of the things that we run this, and both, as a matter of fact, they both intent integrity chain and PDD can be used in the vibe mode. You can just eliminate this case and say just like do whatever. But in this case, it'd be more structural than any vibe coding that you will be doing manually. Just saying, it's just super cool thing. Essentially, we will do a few interventions. One is that to confirm that our user stories are aligned with our requirements that we want to build. And the second intention, when they will produce the implementation plan, and we can say, yeah, plan looks good to me, go implement this.
Yep, right. So that was my original idea, that kind of what I wanted to do with PDD is to make sure that what we as product managers, even if you are developers, but someone who defines a problem for the machine, will be able to express our intent as clear as possible, and then verify that the machine understood it correctly. And this is what it does, right? So you can see here how every step, except of the last one, is a more fine-grained explanation of the same idea over and over again. So we can always stop and evaluate, did the machine understand what we really mean? And we do it after we generate a plan. We look at the plan, and then we look at the task list, and we look again, and we can iterate until what we have is exactly what we want.
Interesting point here is also why we're doing this, because the different LLMs have a different context window, and all of a sudden, I mean, you've probably seen the situation that, oh, this chat is too big, we need to start this. When we have this type of formalized requirements, we can use this as our source of truth. And this actually, remember this statement at the end, because Baruch was talking about microservices and stuff, how we can throw away and start over. With this, you can always throw away, start over, because you have requirements, everything defined. It's a brain for your project rather than just the code artifacts.
Yep. And this was a good start. And this is what Victor is going to use. But my problem was here. This is a black box. How do we know that even after we broke down everything to the most smaller tasks, the code that will be eventually produced is the code that is defined in the tasks, right? That was my biggest question. And the problem is, you know the story about how if you give infinite number of monkeys, infinite number of typewriters, eventually they will write Shakespeare, right? Now, our LLMs are exactly the same thing. We just give them GPUs instead of typewriters, and we hope that what we will get on the out will be Shakespeare. Because LLMs are not deterministic, stochastic systems, and there is no way for us to algorithmically predict the material that will be on the other side. Sometimes it will be Shakespeare, sometimes it will be Shakespeare-ish, and sometimes it will be not really Shakespeare, right? I mean, it's still better than random, but it's eventually non-deterministic. So what we cannot do is we cannot trust the monkeys. We need some way to make sure that the code adheres to the tasks that are the end of a PDD. And the way to do it is what I call intent integrity chain. The idea behind the intent integrity chain is go one step further. We still formulate the requirement. We then write machine parsable specs. And machine parsable here is very, very important, because while still this is something that we can read and compare with the requirements in our head and do the iterative process of going back and forth until the specs are exactly what we need, the next step is magic, because we can parse it and generate tests algorithmically and deterministically, because this is machine parsable. Now, once we have the tests, this is where magic happens.
So are you telling developers that they don't have to write tests anymore? So you will write the test for them?
Of course. It's not me. It's the machine will. Because then we have test-driven development. And we let the machine implement until the tests pass. This guarantees that the implementation is exactly as the tests. The tests are exactly as the spec. And the spec is exactly what we wanted because we iterated until it was, right? So software definition documents are the prompt. LLM creates specs. Everybody read the specs and approve them or iterate until they can approve it. And then algorithm generate the tests. And then LLM implementation, the read-only test until they pass. Nice? Nice.
This is perfect.
Right? Okay, so what are we doing? We're using Spring Boot. We're using HTML plus JavaScript. And we're going to talk about features in a second. So we spoke about models.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I already running the second.
Okay, so let me go back first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm running already second.
So before we jump to you, let me start it over, but let me show what happened.
Yeah.
Okay,
Make
so
it bigger.
yes. So you remember we asked to generate the steering, and steering was generated. Speaking about stochastic machines, this has very little to do with what I generated yesterday in testing. Like it was just two steering documents, and it was just backend and frontend. Now we have testing strategy as well. I'm not saying it's worse or better. I'm just saying it's different. Okay, backend JavaScript. So it take a look at the inclusion and the file pattern matching. So inclusion is a mechanism for Kiro to know which rules are in effect. And what the most popular way to do it is by path matching applied to everything that .java. And then you can see what we need to do. We're going still, I owe you the explanation about context 7, and then it uses which code style it should do, again, what not to implement, etc., etc. Same with front end, file matching, everything which is HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, what it should do, how it should detect color, and usability requirements, what not to do, etc., etc. Testing strategy, this is a very interesting steering document that actually included a plan for what test it should do and what the acceptable criteria is. Very nice. I love it. First time I see it, love it. But this is how we roll. Okay, now let's actually put it to work. And again, we have a prompt, same prompt that we fire up. So, and that will be simplest prompt that just reinforces what we wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So this time we're going to do spec. Now, spec methodology is something that Amazon came up for Kiro, and Kiro is a tool from Amazon, and it does the same methodology in 3 steps: requirements, design, and then list of tasks.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much like prompt.
Exactly. It's like 3 documents that we're going to have in PDD. And so this, as you can see here on top of this, there's follow the methodology. So we're going to be injecting, like I injected this PDD, so it will find this in the file. Yeah, you can do this in type of thing, kind of like, here's my idea of the thing, here's my rules that you want to follow. I put this in the files, read this file first. So we're going to be doing this.
Right, and I'm saying follow the steering rules. I don't need to say it, but it never hurts to repeat. Key requirements lead all the specifications in... where is our files? Where is our files? What happened? I want files. In project, come on. Not in agent. In project description. Where is my project description? Files.
UI.
UI, yeah. No, here we go, project description. Here we go.
I'm telling you, it's UI.
Adhere to technology stacks and constraints, respect of scope, blah, 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 blah. Okay. One thing that we, again, learned from experience is ask for the bulb IP address before testing any bulb integration. And that's, it went to a rabbit hole of debugging 3 hours why it doesn't work, while it tried to connect to hallucinated IP that it just invented.
Yeah, in general, this is kind of like the same situation in your life. In order to find how you can connect to this device, you need to figure out like IP address. After that,
but it didn't think about that.
Like, and when anything is working, nothing is working, and it's time to read documentation, probably, right?
Okay.
I'm trying to give you segue to talk about documentation.
Yes, and context 7, yes. Right.
And
okay.
just quickly, I will show you what's happening on my side. So I fired up the same I fired up the same prompt that the Baruch showed, but in this case, I told it to generate the guidelines and generate my PDD. So use the PDD methodology and do the things. So a couple of things. Inside this PDD document, I also defined few kind of like a stop signs and where I need to get approval. So obviously, we created requirements based on project description. After that, based on requirements, we generated user stories and plan of execution. And based on next other things, we are start building tests. Now, here it asks me, okay, so this is what I'm doing. I'm following this procedure. I'm following this algorithm that you defined here. Here's a quick summary of these, elements about the backend, about front end. Each task will be organized in phases, and this is where I'm looking into tasks saying, okay, cool, like set up infrastructure, core backend, core front end, integration and testing, and all this type of stuff. It sounds good to me. I would spend a little bit of time more reviewing, but today, I feel a little bit fancy, so I'm saying, yeah, looks good to me. Go ahead. And also, we put the requirement that it will ask for bulk IP. So in this case, now. And the first thing I mentioned this: go to documentation.
And we have slides coming up. All right, so while this working and my part is also like somewhere in the making, let's talk a little bit about a couple of other things. So first of all, models. We already mentioned that there are a lot of models out there that we actually tried, and you can see it live in the DevOps demo. We tried ChatGPT 5 codex with their command line. We tried Grok Code Fast, the first model, coding model from Grok. Claude Sonnet 4.5, you see it both, and local models. We tried Qwen 3, and we tried what else did we try?
Qwen Coder, we tried open source GPT.
Open source GPT, right.
GPT 5 open source version.
And as I mentioned, Sonnet is head and shoulders above the competition for now. Grok actually did decent work, but not as good. And everything else was like not really out there. Local models, especially, this is just. I mean, whoever tells you that they do their local models do coding for them, they're lying. It's not even close.
Comparing to the commercially available models, definitely not even close. It can do a decent job, but it's something like commercial models were doing like a year and a half ago, and it's like light years.
Okay.
Even though light years, it's kind of not the time; it's more distance. So. Yeah,
you're so smart.
Yes.
All right. YOLO mode. Victor already mentioned YOLO, which stands for you only live once. And it basically, the question is, how much will you allow your model to do, right? Obviously, you probably want it to run build and run tests, but you probably don't want to do a rm-rf on your user home.
Something in French. No, this should be FR. So in this case, it would be French.
Oh, nice. Right. So this delicate dance is solved differently in different IDEs and tools. So, for example, in Kiro, we have something that is called trusted comments. So trusted comments is a list of comments that we will allow, and we can do more or less allowing command starting from run everything in Git or run only Docker PS but not everything related to Docker, right? Now there is also, and then you can say trust read-only commands. If its command is definitely read-only, not going to do any damage, just go ahead and run with it, right? There is also a list of hard-coded dangerous commands that you cannot bluntly allow, and it will prompt you every time. For example, command chaining. Command chaining actually does more than only allowed command and might chain some dangerous command, so command chaining won't be allowed no matter what you put here. And other tools have a very similar concepts. So that's that.
Yes.
Anything you wanted to add?
No. The documentation.
It's coming up. Here we go. MCP integration.
Yes.
And The most important feature that does all this vibe coding actually useful.
Or at least, yeah.
No, not pleasant. They're all pleasant because they generate code that you don't need to write.
It's pleasant, that's nice.
Yeah, but MCP actually makes it useful. And I will give you two examples of, I think, our favorite MCPs of all time. First of all is how LLM knows how to use libraries. For example, how does it know how to use Spring Boot?
How do you know?
So the first option is the pre-trained model knowledge. As we all know, LLMs pre-trained on all the open source code that was in the world back when it was pre-trained.
Do you know what's the P stands in GPT?
Physical and
Pre-trained. This is how people
physical education.
listening to you.
Physical
no,
and
P,
yeah.
pre-trained.
Pre-trained.
It's the trained model.
Right. So a cutoff date of all those models are month back, and that means that this is the end of their knowledge. Everything that was released after, they have no idea about it. So pre-trained model knowledge is not bad, but also not great. What all those models can do is actually go and search the internet. And which is better because they will find documentation for new stuff, for new versions, but they will also find a lot of garbage that this internet is full of and getting fuller and fuller of. So this is nice, but not great. How about our models can actually read the documentation, the original documentation, the real deal? That would be nice, right? It is done with MCP called Context 7. MCP stands for
Model Context Protocol.
And it's a way for, it exposes an interface for LLM for stuff outside. I'm going to show you example. And it can actually read the latest documentation of Spring Boot,
yes,
which is very cool.
And that's why we're enforcing inside our specification, we're enforcing the system bypass all this general web search and relying on pre-trained information, but always use fresh. So in this case, the context will include information that to make decision that will include information from the recent.
And that's exactly all the critical Context 7 MCP requirement. Always consult Context 7. If you don't know anything about library API, you don't have any pre-trained knowledge, don't rely on pre-trained information, never hallucinate or assume. All technical knowledge must come from Context 7. This is critical. And
do you know how this recommendation came into play? Because
yes,
it was doing all those things. That's why we say, like, don't do those things.
Right? And then we say use two endpoints in the NCP, resolve library ID and get library docs for everything else.
It's actually not necessary thing to do, but this is something that Kiro generated. So
yes,
Kiro learned about this. Maybe even Kiro went to our MCP server, extracted this information.
It did.
So in the integration with the toolkit, it's always the framework will be also providing intent, saying, hey, model, you need to really try to call this tool for you. And in order to model to understand this intention, models need to understand how they can call tools or external MCP servers. And this is kind of like a hint. Some people call it cheating because it's putting specific names of functions. I think that's the AI thing helps.
We just saved some tokens. Yeah, we just saved some tokens. All right. So the way MCP servers are defined is a complete zoo. Every tool does it differently. Some of them do it with YAML, some of them do it with JSON, some of them do it with TOML. The format is completely different. Everything is absolutely arbitrary and a complete mess. So this is an example of how it's done in Kira, which is similar to how it's done in Visual Studio Code, but not really. Close, but not. So, but the idea is that we define the name and then we give it a command. A command, let's start with Playwright. The command is something that is run locally on my machine, or it can be a URL to an MCP that runs on a remote server. Again, it's absolute zoo on the standards on how it works. And basically here I say run command npx with arguments that is called playwright MCP latest and auto-approve those commands out of it. You can imagine how this file becomes a huge mess of MCP, allowed comments and what's not. Thankfully, there are things that can help. One of the things is Docker Desktop. Absolutely unexpected appearance of Docker Desktop in this talk, but here it is. What it has now, it has what is called MCP Toolkit. And toolkit, in the essence of the names, is an assembly of tools. It's a set of tools. And that's exactly what it does. You can actually add any number of MCP servers into your MCP toolkit from the catalog right here, containing tons of them, and then expose this toolkit as MCP to your actual IDE or your tool. So this is what we are doing, and this is why I have MCP Docker that runs Docker MCP gateway run, and then it will have access to at least two MCP server set of commands, which is context 7 and GitHub official. And you can see them here. MCP Docker now have 103 tools, which is a mix of Docker commands and context 7.
Unfortunately, we cannot, proceed with all the things. So let's speed run and see how we're going so far.
All right. Okay, we'll skip the playwright. Okay, so what's going on here? If we open the Kiro user interface here, we will see that now we have something that is called spec. And this spec is the 3 steps that we spoke about, the requirements, the design, and task list. What it did for me, it prepared the requirements document. And you can see here that it's a more detailed explanation of what we want to do, how we try to achieve it, and everything else. And we say, yes, this is amazing. We iterated until we're happy, move to the design phase. Now, what it's going to do is going to create another document, which will be design MD, that will include the design.
Let me also show a couple things. So while we're doing this, it's very straightforward. In one chat message, we have a couple interesting things. So first of all, Junie can talk me back and asking like permission. It asks me about the location of the bulb and things like that. It gives me like a milestone where it's coming. It's kind of think about this. Your junior developer give you kind of status update where it stands. And it says if it's approved, we go in here. Always using MCP, always using Content 7, learning all this information to get access to all these things, APIs and things like that. And so far, what we have, it is pretty working application right now. It can connect to my webcam, read the color from the.
Thank you, BaselOne, for choosing a very nice color, so we can do this.
So we can do something. See the color picker is changing because it is finding the dominant color. Yeah, because before we were just putting my jeans in.
That was very awkward and embarrassing.
So for now, it thinks that it sends, but it doesn't do anything with.
You see the bulb.
We don't see anything happens on the bulb. So I went there and said, hey, make sure you're using the latest and greatest API. So now it will be using the API, not the latest and greatest, using the simplest possible API generation 1. While I was talking, it re-implementing something, and let's see if it's actually did anything to these implementations and the color. I think we have
no, that's like a random color. Show two color.
Go. Do automatic.
Okay.
Do automatic. Let's do automatic. Let's do 3, 2, 1.
Here you go.
It's purple. It's purple, guys.
It's purple.
So while we're talking, entertaining you with the slides and all these things, Junie. So I'm just seriously like it's not even funny to show the Junie because it simply does the job. Knowledge about Java, knowledge about you want to talk about why some of the things better than others with the super system prompt. And okay, what I'm trying to say, but at the very end, between different IDs, there will be only difference of system prompt, something that developers of these tools will talk to model, massage the response, having this conversation back and forth. And so some of the things here that you saw on my screen, or let me show you Baruch's screen.
I have a lot to show.
This is something that developers of these tools will do different from developers of my tools. So that's why I mentioned the developers of Junie, they know a lot about Java, about JVM projects. They can massage these prompts better And obviously, having fresh documentation, like you cannot believe how much time we spend to telling these things to not use obsolete or deprecated APIs or APIs that don't work. Only when we start feeding it fresh data through MCP,
This where magic happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we are chugging along with our methodology in Kiro, and now we're on step 2, design. Design was created, and again, yeah, we have a couple of minutes, and you can see here that design have actually diagrams. So let me switch here to preview, and look at that. It's a tiny merry-made diagram here. Yeah. Webcam speaks through media stream API to browser to blah blah blah, and then shall we bump. By the way, I'm just saying that yesterday it actually did it in block diagrams in ASCII, but today it did merry-made, the non-deterministic scholastic monkeys. All right, and then component overview, some examples of code of APIs, how it's going to use, and an amazing sketch of how the UI is going to look. Right, this is the page.
No, nice. It's kind of like you don't need to have like the Figma or something like that.
Exactly, that's Figma, absolutely. Right, so it goes and defines like the entire design, move to implementation plan, and now it's going to build the tasks. You're done, right?
I'm done. Like
okay, so let's
2 prompts. And one time I tell it, hey, there's IP address, and this is like using Gen Y API.
Yeah, cool.
Gen 1.
So now it generates the tasks MD for us. We'll give it a couple of seconds, and we can actually see what's going on, what it's doing, and we can go to task list, and it will populate now. There are a couple of things I wanted to show you in the task list because the UI is very nice.
Very nice. It's very neat. When the task will appear here, you will see.
Right.
That it's not only
So it's an MD file, right? It is task MD, but it's parsed specially by Kiro that you can see here a couple of things. First, you can actually start tasks from here. Second, you can mark tasks as done, and it will show the task is completed. And third, you can mark tasks as optional. So for example, here, create backend unit tests. Well, unit tests are kind of required. So all I had to do in order to make this task not optional is remove this asterisk, or I can put it back to make it required again. So I want to make task as required because tests are important, and etc. All right. So playwright maybe not today. Okay. So I shaped the tasks as I want to. Now I can do 2 things. I can either just start task from here, or I can create, or I can ask the LLM to actually implement keep optional tasks, make all tasks required. I have an option which I can actually type, and then while it's doing that and it's happy with the tasks, I can actually start a new session. I think this will be done right now. Yeah, so it does. It's okay. And now it's done. We're completely done with our playing. So now we can start a new session. And in this new session, we can ask it implement all tasks. In again, we can reference to spec, and that's the only spec that we have. And now it will do very much what
kind of like a wipe and YOLO and stuff like that.
Which Juni just did with all this information in mind. You can see here, I probably won't have time to show it, but I want to mention it.
Yes.
You can see that in this process is very similar to prompt-driven design, prompt-driven development that Victor did with Juni, but it's not really there in intent integrity chain, because the code that is going to be created now, unless I read it and review all of it, I cannot be sure that all these tons of documentation and very nice specs and designs and tasks are somehow respected in the code. I will assume it is respected to a point, but there is no guarantee. What we can do here is do something nice. There is something that is called the agent hooks that I can create in Kiro, and that's unique to Kiro right now, and it will...
Workflows or some other things available?
No, but hooks that you can do on events. For example, file created is pretty unique to Kiro. And then what I can do here is I can say, where is it? Here. I can say something like, when tasks MD file is created in the spec, so when the list of tasks is created, also go and create tests from the requirements. Because the requirements, to remind you, are machine parsable, right? So here, if we look at the requirements, they are, where are they? Yeah, the requirements. They are in a form of when, if, then,
User story.
shall, and must, and all those things. So they want to kick us out of stage. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
They brought some.
Victor, you're broad-shouldered.
Yes.
Stand here. Stand here. Don't let them pass.
Yes.
Yeah.
They shall not pass.
Play interference.
Yes.
Right. So yeah. So I can generate a hook that will create all those tests before.
They're just not leaving. We can.
No one want to leave.
Yeah, no one leaves. Everyone interested.
Yeah.
Everyone hooked. So.
Right. So before I run into implementing the tasks, so I can implement intent integrity chain right here in Kiro by adding this agent hook that will generate tests and will regenerate every time that requirements are changing. So we can again go ahead and do our iterative design, and then I can say implement all tasks, but make sure that the tests are passed. And then I have the guarantee that the end result matches the tests match the spec match the requirements, and this is how I bridge the chasm between the intent in my head, the prompt that is written, and the product that was generated. With that,
couple things at the end.
Yes.
We will be available for some questions, but they will not
absolutely. Yeah, no, they will kick us out. So
yes.
You will have to find us beaten somewhere in the corner.
Yeah.
Because, yes. At J Baruch on the internet, at Gamusa on the internet, BaselOne hashtag to praise this amazing talk, obviously. Shownotes.taxcare.com. Another opportunity to scan the QR code. I'm not going to count to 10. It's the same QR code.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And AISystemEngineering.com with the 3 hours video and all the good stuff.
Videos, tutorials there. Thank you and have a nice day.